Welcome back to Mets Daily. Jake Brown at Jake Brown Live. Make sure you smash that thumbs up in the video, hit that subscribe button, keep on commenting. We'll read your comments at the end of the show. It is the birthday. It is the 35th birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes, everybody. We are rocking and rolling. Obviously, a lot of big news yesterday in the baseball world we'll get into. First, we start with the reported deal. Could the Mets and Pirates make a deal happen? Now, this came out. Andrew Filipponi in Pittsburgh talked about their interest in Mark Vientos and Brett Beatty. Listen, I look through the Pirates. Obviously they have a couple of talented arms. It's not going to be Paul Skeens, obviously. Bubba Chandler is the next name that you think about, that could make sense. But outside of this, the name that pops up that you think the Pirates want to get rid of because he's owed around $56 million over the next 3 years is Mitch Keller. And to me, a Brett Beatty package for Mitch Keller doesn't help the Mets very much. I'm sorry. I don't view Mitch Keller past a number 4 or 5 starter. The Mets already have a few of those. Do they need another one? You can never have too much starting pitching, but to me, Vientos for Keller, fine, but do you really want Mitch Keller's 3 years, $56 million? That's the thing. David Stern's been big on these short-term deals, especially for starting pitching. Does he want a guy making around $20 million a year who's a 4 ERA guy? He's essentially a walking quality start. A 4.5 is a quality start. So do the Mets want a quality start guy for a potential future piece? I've been very on board with trading Vientos. To me, no thanks on Beatty. If it's Beatty for Keller, no thanks. I'll pass. No interest. There are better fits out there, like guys I've mentioned, and I won't say the Y name again, but there's better fits for the Mets than someone from the Pirates. But of course there's interest, and Will Salmon has also said there's interest around the league, especially for Brett Beatty. A lot more teams have higher interest in Brett Beatty than Mark Vientos. Obviously, Beatty coming off the best year of his career, which still wasn't light years incredible. 254, 18 homers, 50 RBIs. Well, Vientos 17 and 61 after his big 2024 season. He took a hit in 2025. But listen, he's going to be a good DH for someone, and if they want to work with him at third and make him the third baseman, I think you can get away a place like Pittsburgh with Mark Vientos playing third base. You can't get away with it on a championship contender in the Mets. But the Pirates, like a lot of hitters, they want to add to their lineup. There's nothing hot at the moment between those teams, but you got to imagine they're thinking to themselves, what would it take for us to get Beatty? And the Mets are saying, give us Bubba Chandler, and you could have Brett Beatty. And if the Pirates say no to that, they'll say thank you. No, thank you. Braxton Ashcraft, another really good arm for the Pirates you could think about. But I don't know. I know Mitch Keller right now is slotted to be the Pirates' number 2. I just don't find him to be that much better than David Peterson or Kodai Senga. And, the advanced metrics tell you that Mitch Keller could be really good for the Mets. But still, it worries me adding that money, some uncertainty. Now, maybe he's the kind of guy who needs to change the scenery. He needs to go a place where he's going to get run support and when he's going to go to a winning franchise. But I don't know. I'm not ready to part with Beatty, who's going to be kind of a versatile utility piece for someone like Mitch Keller. I was hoping the Mets could do a little bit better than that. Let me know in the comments below. Does that intrigue you at all? The Mets, I think, looking for maybe a starting pitcher. I don't think they're in need of one, but it never hurts to have too much. Framber Valdez not going to be that guy. We talked about him yesterday. He is now signed with the Detroit Tigers. And how bad does Tariq Skubal feel when he's seeing them go out and sign a lefty like Framber when he can't even get the arbitration number that he wants? Skubal going to the arbitration with the Tigers asking for a record $32 million, and he's worth it. But hey, the reality is he might not get it, but Framber Valdez is. Framber Valdez getting the highest contract AAV per year in baseball history for 3 for $115. Listen, I don't think the Mets were touching this. Tigers also giving up the 2 draft picks. So 2 draft picks, $40 million a year. Framber's a good pitcher, but there was no world the Mets were going to 3 years for $40 million a year for him. So good for the Tigers. If Skubal is back and all is okay, you get 1 year of Skubal and Framber. Now Skubal, this is probably their pivot from Skubal because it seems pretty clear the Tigers and Skubal are not going to get a long-term deal done after this year. But the Tigers for 1 year, if they don't move on from Skubal, could be pretty fun. A lot of good young talent in the lineup. You have a rotation led by 2 great lefties and Skubal and Framber. The Tigers could be a force if they stay as is. But let's see what this hearing goes to and what number it ends at in arbitration for Skubal. But you got to think he's a little bit ticked off seeing that contract. I'm a little ticked off seeing that, Miguel Andujar got 1 year for $4 million. I really thought that would have been a perfect perfect right-handed bench bat piece for the Mets that could do a lot of everything. Now he goes to a team they might compete with in the wild card, and the Padres. Great deal for the Padres. Listen, you get 1 year, $4 million, very low risk, potential high reward in a good hitter, Miguel Andujar. He doesn't light the world on fire. He's not going to play a Gold Glove defense, but a really good utility player for just $4 million. So love that for the Padres, excuse me, and kind of wish the Mets got him. Again, not a move I'm going to lose sleep over, not getting Miguel Andujar, but would have liked him for $4 million. With Framber Valdez on the board, the first name you think of, Zach Gallen. The other name I think of, and I've mentioned him on this show, is Will the Force Be With You, Luke? Lucas Giolito. Mets pitching coach is Justin Willard. There's a tie there. He really had a good year with Willard last season, the director of pitching for the Red Sox, now the Mets pitching coach. A 3.41 ERA and 26 starts, 31 years old. I'm looking at Giolito probably getting like a 2-year, $32 million deal, something to that realm. It's not going to cost a fortune. I think you can get him on short term because there's not many guys left. So if I'm the Mets, I have some interest in Giolito. I would much rather trade. I would much rather sign a Lucas Giolito to 2-year, 32 than trade Brett Beatty to get Mitch Keller. To me, I feel like Giolito free agency is the better bet. Yes, you have the luxury tax implication, so everything's 110%. So that the Mets have to factor in. That'll push them over 400, which isn't ideal, but Giolito to the Mets in free agency makes sense. Don't have to give up draft picks either, like you would with Gallen. Excuse me. So, is the force with Lucas? Do you guys think the Mets should go after Lucas Giolito? I'm intrigued by him. I don't think he lights the world on fire, but instead of trading for a 3 or 4 in Keller, why not just sign a 3 and 4 in Giolito, who's coming off just a really good year for the Boston Red Sox? We appreciate your support, everybody. Let's go through your comments. We have now reached 4,049 subscribers, so thank you so much for getting us over 4K, ringing in the birthday. Went to the Knicks-Nuggets game last night. Game of the year. Unbelievable Knick game. And the Brunson burner continues. So let's get to your comments from yesterday. Appreciate it, everyone. Keep on coming with the comments. Here we go. From Brian Reese, he says, congrats, Jake. You deserve it. Here's to 4,000 more. LGM. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, let's get 4,000 more this year. Let's get to 8K. Middletown North says, Zeal is great at it. Zeal, to me, is fine for pre- and post-game. A whole game of Zeal, I'm sorry, just does not intrigue me that much. I'd much rather have Jerry Blevins. Jerry is great. Zeal is okay, but not tremendous. He also is not that exciting. Like, Todd Zeal's not, keeping your ears peaked while you're watching a Met game. Peak says, and yes, let's sign Framber. Well, he's gone. Dr. Manan Valdez signed with the Tigers for $150 million with an opt-out after 2 years. Yes, good point. Forgot to mention the opt-out after 2. I don't know why he would opt out with that kind of money, but we'll see where the baseball world is at in 2 years with the potential lockout. Doc20 says, completely forgot Christian Scott. He showed good velo and great fastball command. My only concern is does he develop put-away stuff? Yeah, that was the issue in his first year. Wasn't a big strikeout guy, but, I think Christian Scott's going to have a role, and maybe if the Mets don't sign a Giolito, they don't sign a Zach Gallen, it's because they believe Christian Scott's going to have a piece in this rotation in 2026. Monty says, as good of a ball player Soto is, I firmly believe Soto's persona was the cause of clubhouse issues last year. I'm not saying Soto's a bad person, just that his style didn't fit in, and he's still on this team. I disagree. One, Soto was showing up on the field. He was in the second half. He was clutch for the Mets. He was great. 2, yes, his personality is different, but he just didn't jive with some of the guys that have been here for a long time. And I think those guys thought they ran the ship. Pete thought he ran the ship. Nimmo thought he should have been captain. Nimmo's never been an all-star. You can't have a guy who's never been an all-star be a captain. So I disagree that he was a clubhouse issue. I do think he brings a different dynamic to a clubhouse where he's not this rah-rah guy. But I don't think he was necessarily issue. But maybe guys just, felt they couldn't approach him and be friendly with him like they could others. But I don't know. I just think they had too many different personalities and too many egos. And the Mets had to change that. And listen, he's under contract. Juan Soto has a good chance to be the Met for the rest of his career. Go in the Hall of Fame. Join Carlos Beltran, Mike Piazza, and Tom Seaver in the Hall of Fame as a Met. So that you just have to deal with, And I think he's comfortable now. He's got a year under his belt in New York. And now I honestly think he's happy with what the Mets have done, changing, the personality of this team. PDG says 100% on the Zeal. I can't listen to his voice 2 hours. Lowell Blevins is good, though. Yeah, it's too much. Too much for a couple hours. Joe F said, Sanger for Yandy is a great deal. Brother, I'm not giving up our fourth best prospect for a reliever that's on a 1-year deal. That is ridiculous. No thanks. Giving up bench Peterson plus for an often injured ex-wash superstar would be the stupidest thing in the world. Yes. I don't remember what ex-superstar wash you're talking about. I assume you're talking about Mike Trout, which someone commented on. MD says, anyone who believes in chemistry is not a factor in the success of failure. A group under high stress has never been part of one. Yeah, no, listen, it's a team sport. These guys got to get along. Just that's how it works. Juan Melendez says, why are we trying to get another pitcher? We have plenty. If we get another start, he has to be elite. Quintana's not better than anything we have. Also, Peterson is really good. He had 3 bad starts at the end because it's most innings he's pitched in the season. Right now, he's the number 2 in my eyes. McLean is good, but he can only pitch 50 innings. Yes, I mean, it's still early in McLean, but you got to remember that was the end of the year. Now we get to see a full year of McLean. Juan, I think you could just never use. You could always have more pitching. Pitching wins ball games. The Mets could always have more pitching. You're right. Quintana's probably not that guy, but I think Lucas Giolito would be, or Zach Gallen is that guy. NJ Builder said, I personally would drop Senga off in Tampa if they would take to get Yandy. Lol, yes, I'm a Mets fan. I just want the best players we can get. And Senga is definitely not one of them, but maybe Yandy is, and I'll take Yandy over Senga any day. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Senga has a chip on his shoulder, but I don't know if he have that dog in him. Like, does Kodai Senga have that dog in him where he's coming back from injuries, from being demoted to AAA, from his confidence being at an all-time low, and turning into the pitcher he was his rookie year? I sure hope so if he's on the team. But that's why I would say, why not, if you're Tampa, take a flyer on Senga for the same money you're paying Yandy? If it's Senga and you have to give up a DH, fine. But I'm just thinking the Mets logic. I don't think they love Senga that much right now because of the injuries, because of what happened, because they have to go to a 6-man rotation because of him. I don't think they love having him here if they can get someone in return for him. So we'll see. All right, we'll close on that, folks. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you for subscribing. We'll be back tomorrow, getting ready for the Super Bowl as well. So maybe we'll have a guest on tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Keep hitting that thumbs up. Go subscribe to my YouTube and follow me at Jake Brown Live. And make sure you share this channel right now. Another Benihana birthday dinner tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.